Good evening, my name's Dan and welcome to my garden here in Essex in the southeast of the UK. So you can see in front of me here I have some okra plants, otherwise known as okra, bhindi or lady's fingers, and they're carrying a nice crop. So very happy with how these have turned out. So today I'm going to make a video showing you how you can grow okra if you live in a cold climate. So okra contains vitamin C, protein and fibre, also rich in antioxidants, and it also contains polyphenols which can help with inflammation. So they certainly are a very nutritious crop to grow. When growing okra in a temperate cold climate, a region with a shorter growing season, it's good to grow a variety bred for a shorter season. So the variety here is Super Bhindi, which I purchased from Simply Seeds. They cost something like £1.49 for about 20 seeds, so very good value indeed, and they've done well here. So I initially planted the seeds on the 20th of March. I used pots about this size of multi-purpose compost, and then I put them on a south-facing windowsill with a tray underneath. So multi-purpose compost, tray like that, seed in about probably a centimetre, an inch or so deep, and then some more multi-purpose compost on top, and that was it really. So it was recommended to germinate them at about 25 degrees C, which is around 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but I would imagine it was cooler than that where I germinated them, because they were on the windowsill, but there was the curtain there, windowsill here, and the window there, so they were in that cold void, and we had the coldest spring for 50 years, and it didn't really affect the germination, so I was very happy actually. This plant here I planted out on the 2nd of May, and this one here went out on the 8th of May. So you need to plant them out after risk of frost has passed. They won't tolerate frost. In fact, they like a minimum temperature of about 15 degrees C, which if I remember correctly is about 59 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, but don't subject them to frost. So the compost in question that they are growing in, I had a 1.4 tonne bag of compost delivered. It was beaver compost, but you could use your own homemade compost from your compost bin. You could get some leaf mould in there. It needs to be well draining. If you're going to purchase some compost, something like some ready-made vegetable compost could be good. I had good results in the past with a company called Westland Compost. That was good, so Westland vegetable compost. So it needs to be nutritious and well draining. So okra put out lovely flowers. Now the flowers are self-fertile, meaning they've got enough within the flower to create a fruit without a pollination partner, but it can be good to just give them a little bit of help to let the pollen move around the flower. Now I didn't actually make any effort at all with that, so I grew mine in the polytunnel here, so bees etc go in here, so do hoverflies and other pollinating insects in and out, and they do the pollination for me hopefully. But if you're growing them in an area where you're not getting too much bee traffic etc, you can maybe just get something like an electric toothbrush and gently move it over the flower in order to help. So okra likes a nice warm growing temperature, minimum of about 15 degrees C. So I keep them here in the polytunnel, where which it gets up to around 40 degrees C if I leave the door closed. If I leave the door open, these on very hot days, it can get up to about 30 degrees C in there, so quite warm, and the plant loves that. Now, with regards to container size, I would guess this is about a 20 litre container, something like that. You see the plant's done well here. This plant here is in a much smaller one, and the plant is smaller, but it is still carrying a crop. Now the weather this year has been rather interesting. I'm sure many of you have noticed that yourself. So we did have some cooler night temperatures a few weeks ago. I think one night went down to about 9 degrees C, and the plants didn't seem to mind that too much. Regarding growing okra, the pH generally recommended is about 5.8 to 7, but I haven't checked the pH of this growing medium, and these plants are doing quite well. So I have read that okra can be deep rooted, thus drought tolerant, but I've only ever grown okra this year, in fact, and of course these are in these containers here, so the roots are confined to these containers. But maybe if I was growing them in the ground here in the polytunnel, the plants would have got a lot taller, partly due to the fact that the root system would be so developed. So they can get to about 6 feet tall, which is around 183 centimetres. So that's very interesting indeed. If I grew them in the ground in the polytunnel, I'd probably plant them about 2 feet apart, which is about 61 centimetres, because the plants can get quite big. So what you could probably do also is maybe pinch out the tops or something like that to encourage bushiness, but I didn't bother with that. I've literally just let the plants do what they wish. So regarding pests, you could have a problem with red spider mites, so one good way to hopefully avoid that is have good ventilation in your polytunnel or your greenhouse if that's where you're growing them. Aphids or whitefly you could have problems with. You can get sticky traps and things. I've never used sticky traps before, but one thing I like to do is, you know, squirt them off like that. I'll link a video down below of how effective this is on aphids, blackfly on runner bean plants. So when watering, it's good practice to water at the base of the plant without touching the leaves. That way they're less likely to get disease. I like to use rainwater whenever possible, and I've been watering these about 2 or 3 times a week. Got to keep an eye on what the weather's doing, how warm it is in your microclimate, such as your polytunnel or greenhouse. I like to keep the soil growing medium slightly damp but not waterlogged. So regarding feeding, you could consider using a high potassium fertiliser such as an organic tomato feed. Now I actually haven't fed these at all since I planted them, so you can see the growing medium here must be very nutritious indeed. So regarding feeding, if you're growing them in a container, once it starts to flower, then you could start your feeding. So you could consider something like this. This is Maxi Crop Extract of Seaweed Plus, organic tomato, natural fertiliser. So this is a good one. Now I'm not affiliated with these in any way. I'm recommending them because I've had good results with Maxi Crop products in the past. So they're very good. I used these on my strawberry plants this year. Same again with the seeds from Simply Seeds. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm recommending them because, as you can see here, I've had good results. Now regarding when to pick okra pods, you want to pick them when they're about 2 to 4 inches long, which is around 7 to 10 centimetres. So you can see these are much bigger than that. I actually wanted to make this video earlier in the week, but it didn't happen. So there we are. But these are probably too big and might be a little bit tough. But either way, we'll pick one and there we go. So that's an okra pod there. And what's that? It's about 7, I don't know how big that is, but it's quite a big size piece of okra there. And this one here, we'll pick that off. Tell you what, let's see if I can, because this is the first time I've grown okra before actually, so we'll be using scissors there. So there's all sorts of different recipes you can use this for. You can just boil it, you could steam it. I think it was a Bhindi masala I saw a recipe for, so quite interesting. So this piece here is a better size. Definitely better to pick with scissors. And look at that, nice piece of okra. So it is said that when you pick these that they can irritate your fingers with the little spines on them, but they're not irritated my fingers, but there they are. So quite a history attached to the growing of okra. It's been grown for a very long time indeed, so you might wish to check that one out. So now you know that if you live in the UK or a similar climate, that you can actually grow it. So it's quite interesting. And one thing I did read with regards to its uses, apparently the seeds can be ground and used as an uncaffeinated coffee substitute. So that's very interesting. I've never done it myself, but always interesting to learn new things. But anyway, let me know if you're growing okra in the UK or a similar climate. I'd like to hear about that. Let me know of any exotic stuff you're growing, because due to various bits and bobs, you know, it's good to know that we can grow things in non-ideal climates, isn't it? But anyway, Thank you very much for your time, and I shall see you in the next video. You can like this video if you wish, and if you'd like to be notified of any further videos I put up, please feel free to subscribe, and you can share this video with anyone you think may be interested. Thanks a lot for viewing.